back then with another in-depth breakdown for Marvel's Midnight Suns. Today we'll look at a character you unlock about 2/3 through the game, so it takes a fair amount of time to unlock them. It is Scarlet Witch. Now, at the moment I've got all characters at max level in the game. I've got all cards unlocked, upgraded to tier 2, and I've got all friendships maxed out as well, because I've been playing an early access copy of the game for the last few weeks. So in this video we'll be able to cover everything you need to know about a maxed out Scarlet Witch. Now we'll start off with an overview where we'll talk about our general playstyle. We'll then move on to the cards. I'll break them all down. It's a tier 2 version will be shown off. We'll talk about stats next and which ones you want to focus on. We then have Hangouts and the friendship system. Next up we have Scarlet Witch challenge mission. I'll show you how you actually beat that, and then finishing up we have some gameplay. Now if the video is helpful, take the time to hit the like, share and subscribe button, and if you want early access to other videos in this particular series, consider becoming a channel member as well. But let's dive in, let's break this down. So heroes then in Marvel's Midnight Suns fall into 3 different types. You've got damage, support and tanks. She does an alright amount of damage, Scarlet Witch, but I would say she's more a support style hero. Unfortunately, I personally feel she's the weakest hero that I've actually looked at yet. I feel this is down to the fact that due to her insane power levels in lore, a lot of games actually struggle to convey those power levels without making the character too OP. I've seen quite a few games where this has happened. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, for example, Scarlet Witch was really underwhelming in that as well, and I do think she is underwhelming here, and I do hate to say that, unfortunately. She may benefit from mods, because some of the mods I've looked at could be quite useful in her kit. She can gain additional moves, she can gain additional marked on skills, but it's something I need to do a deep dive on at a later date. But on the surface, looking at her, what I've seen so far, once again, unfortunately a bit of an underwhelming character. But that is a quick overview. Let's start breaking down our cards now. Heroes then have access to 10 different cards in total. That includes their legendary card. The versions we'll show off today will be the tier 2 versions of the cards. We're not going to talk about mods, but I will just mention the fact that Scarlet Witch, I feel her cards are pretty underwhelming. I've played around with the mods a little bit, and I'm going to cover it in a later video, but I played around with them a little bit, and it seems that additional moves and marked comes up on them quite often, which could help our cards out a fair bit, but that's something I'll need to look at more in another deep dive video at a later date. So we'll just be looking at the base cards here. The first one we have, all heroes have a version in this card, so this is called Quick Toss. So it's a standard low damage attack, but it has quick on it, so if you defeat a low level minion with this, you'll get the card usage cost back on it. As well with this one, it's got knockback as well, so as far as your quick cards go, this is a pretty decent one. You want to have 1 or 2 of these in your deck. The next card we have here is Hex Bolt. This can be a nice one, but it takes a while to get going. So this one, at tier 2, it will chain 2 times, and when you play this, it gives all subsequent Hex cards +1 chain, and you can do this multiple times. Let's say you play the card 5-6 times in a match, you could essentially be chaining to 5 to 6 different enemies, or using all those attacks in one enemy, and it's not actually costing you any heroism, it's actually generating 1 heroism instead. So as attack cards goes, this one is pretty nice. We have Hex Field up next here. This is an AoE attack. It's doing double the damage of the previous 2 cards, but it only damages enemies near Scarlet Witch. You can't actually aim the AoE, it's just going to be an AoE around her, so you need to make sure you've got a move available to move into position before you actually use this. So it can do nice damage, but it's really down to the positioning of the enemy and the fact you have a move available as well, so it's a very situational card, this one. If you're looking to run a support build then on Scarlet Witch, that's probably the setup I would use with her. If I was to use her, then you would want to have 1 or 2 of these. This is Chaos Field, so with this, for 2 turns, allies near Scarlet Witch gain 1 resist, so that means in the next attack they don't take any damage, and they recover 210 health at the end of the turn. It's a decent defensive card, but once again, it's allies near Scarlet Witch. You can't actually aim it, so you need to have a move available for this to actually be useful. The next card we have here is a pretty nice support one. This is called Hex Mark. It's got one of my favourite status effects in the game on it. So with this, the tier 2 version, you apply free mark to each enemy in an area. Now you can actually aim this, it doesn't have to be round Scarlet Witch, so that's pretty useful. The fact it's applying free, that means it lasts for 3 turns, which is pretty awesome. And with this as well, you will be generating 2 heroism. Now marked is a status effect where when you defeat the enemy, when they have that, it will refund the card cost of the card that you've just actually used. So really like this status effect, and from a support perspective, this is a nice card. We then have Unleashed up next. This particular one increases the size of Scarlet Witch area abilities by 40% for 2 turns. It will generate 2 heroism as well. Now I played around with this card a lot mod wise to try and see if I could get a free version of it, because some of the cards are available, they allow you to play them without actually adding a card cost via mods. I couldn't find it at all. If you could get this on this card, it would be absolutely great. But at the moment, when generally you only have 3 cards to play per turn, using one of these as a setup just to make our AoE bigger, I just don't feel that it's worthwhile at all. If the AoE increase was something around about 100%, I would say it's worthwhile, but as it is, this isn't a card I would use at all. And I will mention, in fact, as well, before we move on to the next one, it doesn't stack. I did try it to see if we could get up to 80% extra area by using 2 of these, but it doesn't stack, unfortunately, so really disappointing card, this one. The next card we have here is Chaos Reigns. This one is a heroic card, so it's free heroic energy to use this. With this, you select an area, it doesn't have to be round Scarlet Witch, so you select an area, enemies within the area attack each other, and there's a 50% chance for each enemy to attack twice. This is a pretty decent card because depending on the enemy that's actually doing the attacking, they can hit for a fair amount. The next heroic card here we have is Detonate. It's 2 heroic energy to use this. With this, it will detonate an explosive with 100% increased damage and radius. Scarlet Witch and allies are immune, and also on redraw you gain 1 heroism as well. This particular card, very situational, because some levels you go into they don't actually have explosives. In Limbo, for example, they have flaming braziers that you can fling enemies into and they'll explode, but you can't use this card to detonate them, unfortunately. And also you might find earlier on in the match you'll actually be detonating an explosive instead before this card comes up, and if there's no explosives then it's a wasted card in a way. So again, not really a card that I could recommend. We have our penultimate heroic card here. This is called Hex Charge. So with this one, target an enemy to explode at the start of their next turn, in this instance 105 damage, and if they are knocked out by that, then they explode for 210 damage. It can be decent if they're surrounded by enemies. Unfortunately, you can be hurt by this explosion as well. So again, another Scarlet Witch card that sadly I'm not a huge fan of. The final card we have is a legendary Midnight Suns card. It's called No More. It's 5 heroism, which is a decent amount, and with this it consumes all health to damage each enemy near Scarlet Witch, and it's 1 damage for each health. At the moment at level 25 she's got around about 600 health, which is on the lower side, and with this as well you draw a card for each KO, and it has exhaust, meaning you can only use it once. The fact it knocks you out, and if you're playing in the later difficulties when you don't actually get revives, it means you're losing a character for doing 600 damage in a relatively small area. So I think this is one of the weakest cards in regards to the legendary Midnight Suns cards, and overall, as you probably noticed from this card section, I think your cards really could do a bit of a buff. They're really pretty underwhelming, unfortunately. But that is all the cards for her. Let's now talk about the stats. So via research then you unlock something in the game known as daily sparring. With daily sparring you will get a random stat and you can choose a hero to train and upgrade that particular stat. So with Scarlet Witch, because most of her abilities are all about AoE, I would say if you ever get the power stat coming up, this increases the AoE of your AoE attacks, then I would go for that one. You can see at the moment I've got an additional 20%. Don't really notice it, unfortunately, but I still think it's the best stat to go for with her. Now, the next section will be Hangouts and the friendship system. So the friendship system then is an absolutely fantastic way of increasing the stats on your character. After you hit level 5, you unlock a prestige system of sorts with this, and every time you level up after that, you will gain a random stat on your character. So you want to make sure when it comes to your activities, you're doing the ones that your characters like the most. You can either love them, like them, or dislike them. Now the ones that Scarlet Witch loves that will give you the most friendship points, it's pool lounging, reading by the fire, deep conversation, exploring the grounds, and meditation. The daily hangouts you can do, it would be meditate and mushroom picking that she loves as well. It's a lot of information to take in, so what I will do at a later date, I'll do an infographic of all the different hangouts for the different characters and which ones you want to go for and which ones you want to avoid. But that's the ones for the purpose of this video anyway. For Scarlet Witch, let's talk about the challenge mission next. This unlocks once you actually get to friendship level 5. So your challenge mission then, this is essentially a puzzle. This will be used to unlock your Midnight Suns for your character. You have to be very specific in regards to how you do these, so the gameplay that I'm showing here, you must follow it to the letter. If you make any kind of slight deviation, you will not beat this puzzle. Some of them took me a few hours to actually figure out, so make sure you are following this exactly. So we'll finish up here with some gameplay, but that's everything you really need to know to get started with Scarlet Witch. As I mentioned before, she may be a character that gets a bit better once we actually start on mods tour, and I'll look to do deep dive videos on mods for each of the different heroes that are available in the game at a later date. But there's going to be a lot of work involved in that because there is an absolute ton of mods available on characters and they're all random, so it takes long to actually figure out which mods are available on which particular character. But we've got some gameplay to finish up here. I actually cut this gameplay off short, the reason being that this match takes an absolute age once again, just because Scarlet Witch is really pretty weak, and what I'm trying to do in this gameplay, I'm not trying to do perfect gameplay, but I'm trying to show off as many Scarlet Witch cards as I can, and as a result of that, it meant the match took an absolute age. So yeah, unfortunately disappointing character. I'm hoping they will go back and do some tuning on characters and buff some of them, because definitely in regards to some of the other characters I've looked at, comparing them to Scarlet Witch, she is a weak character, sadly. But yeah, there we go, that's everything you need to know. If the video has been helpful, once again, take the time to hit the like, share, subscribe button. If you want early access to other videos in this series, consider becoming a channel member. And thanks for tuning in, stay safe, and I'll see you all again soon.
Appreciate the lift.
Have we waited for your blood? By blood, we honor our make you regret that. Your suffering will be immeasurable.
They weren't ready for us. That much is clear.